Hi, Transitional Math students. Mrs. Robinson here to work the practice benchmark chapter 1 and 2 with you. Let's go ahead and get started. You can come here if you need help. You can pause, fast forward, rewind, whatever you need to do. All right, the first one. Lily and her three sisters bought a video game for $60. They each paid the same amount. How much did each girl pay? Now, a common mistake is you see 3, so you think, oh, 60 divided by 3, but it's Lily and her three sisters, so there's 4 of them. So I'm going to go 60 and divide that by 4. If I do 60 divided by 4, I'm going to get about 15, and you can count out by 15, 15, 30, 45, 60. So it would be A. All right, let's look at the next one. Mel used half of her film to take pictures of her dog. Then she took 10 pictures of her cat. She has 14 exposures left before she runs out of film. For how many exposures was the film originally rated? So this is a problem, a word problem, and we can think of lots of ways to do this. In algebra, we might say, let X be the number of exposures the film was originally rated. But here, we could just try one of the plans that we learned in section 1-5, and it was work backwards. All right. And if we work backwards on this, we can say she has 14 exposures left. That's what she has left. So let's start with what she has left. Let's add back the 10 pictures she took of her cat. So she had 24 pictures before she took those of her cat. 24 exposures, I should say. And then let's add back, she used half the film to take pictures of her dog. So let's add back that half. So we're going to multiply that by 2 to add back what was left, that half. And 24 times 2 is 48. So the original amount would have been 48 exposures. All right, on to the next one. All right, number 3, Sal had 10 eggs and 3 broke. Which expression, remember expression is not an equation, just an expression. Which expression represents the number of eggs Sal has left? All right, if he had 10 eggs and 3 broke, I would do 10 and subtract 3. So it would be B. All right, let's look at this one. What number is equivalent to 7 times 2 plus 6 minus 18 divided by 3? This is where we need to remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Order of operations. So we do anything in parentheses first. Then if we have exponents, we do those. We do multiply and divide next from left to right. And then after that, we do add and subtract from left to right. So let's look here. We've got some parentheses, so we need to work those first. We're going to go 2 plus 6 and get 8. And then next we need to do, we don't have any exponents, so after that we need to do multiplying and dividing from left to right. So I'm going to go 7 times 8, which is 56, minus 18 divided by 3. Okay, so I did that multiplying first. Now, the question is, do I subtract 50 or 18 from 56 and then divide that by 3, or do I do this division and then this subtraction? Well, I need to do my multiplying and dividing before I do my adding and subtracting. So I'm going to go ahead and do this division first. I'm going to go negative 18 divided by 3, and that's going to give me negative 6. So I'll have 56 minus 6, which gives me 50. So careful, you need to make sure you do your order of operations correctly. Don't do the subtraction first, do the division first, then do the subtraction. And the answer should be 50. All right, this next one I just read through and realized this should be the number of centimeters for any given number of inches. So let's read this. If 1 inch equals, according to the solution they give, this is what it should be. If 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, which expression represents the number of centimeters? So we want to know the number of centimeters for any given number of inches. So let's say my given number of inches is 2 inches. To figure out the number of centimeters, Well, if 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters, 2 inches is going to be 2 times 2.54 or 5.08 centimeters. So I would take, for any given number of inches, I would multiply it by 2.54. And that would give me the number of centimeters. So that would be B. All right, and I'll fix that. All right, looking at this next one, what is the value of U plus 4V minus W? And then they give you the value for U, V, and W. So let's go ahead and plug those in and figure out the value. If U is 10, we're going to place 10 where U is, plus 4 times my V value. Well, V, they told us, was 4, so I place a 4 where the V was, minus W is 6, so I place a 6 where the W is. Now I use order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So let's look. I want to do my multiplying and dividing. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I got to do my multiplying and dividing. Oh, I forgot dear. My multiplying and dividing before I do my adding and subtracting. So I need to do this first. 4 times 4 is 16. And then I'm going to go 10 plus 16 minus 6. And then I do my adding and subtracting from left to right. So 10 plus 16 is 26. Minus 6 is 20. And I should have C. All right. A scuba trip cost 80. Let me clear that. A scuba trip costs 80 plus 45 for each driver. Write and evaluate an expression to find the total cost for 6 divers. I said drivers, but that should say divers because they're going scuba diving, not scuba driving. All right, I can read. So 80 plus 45 for each diver. So if I did $80 and then I added on $45 for each diver, well, let D be the number of divers. I don't know what it is. D equals the number of divers. All right, so if I do $80 plus $45 for every diver, I would do 45 times D. Find the total cost for 6 divers. So I'm going to place a 6 in there, and it's going to be $80 plus 45 times 6. And then I'm going to do a parentheses to represent the multiplication. So if I do 45 times 6, and then I'm going to get 270, and then add 80 to that, I'm going to get 350. So this will be $350 is the cost for 6 divers. All right, this one, which property of addition supports the fact that 11 plus A plus C equals C plus A plus 11? Now, sometimes when there's 3 things in there, a lot of kids go, oh, associative, but there's no parentheses here and flipping around. What I really have is the commutative property. Commutative property lets me move things around when I add. So if these were numbers, I could say something like this: 11 plus 1 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 1 plus 11. It doesn't matter which order I add in with addition and also multiplication. So this would be commutative property. I flipped around the A and the C and the C and the A. I flipped these around, and I flipped around the 11 from here all the way to here. So that would be the commutative property. All right, Sarah lined up stickers with the following colors: gold, yellow, blue, pink. Gold, yellow, blue, pink. If she continues this way, what will be the color of the 30th sticker? Well, I don't really feel like writing gold, yellow, blue, pink till I get to 30. Let's figure this out. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it starts over with 5, 6, 7, 8. But 5 starts out with 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So what I could do is every 4 times it rolls over and starts over, I'm going to take 30 and divide it by 4. So if I take 30 and divide it by 4, I'm going to get 7.5 times. 7.5 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to think, all right, if I go around the 30th time, it's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 7.5 times. So that half is what matters. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that 7 more times and a half more. Well, a half would be 1, 2. So I would land on yellow. Since there's 4, a half would be only 2. So I should be landing on, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 times, and then I come back and I go 1, 2 for that half. So I should be landing on yellow for the 30th time. All right, for number 10, refer to this coordinate plane. Choose the point for the ordered pair 7, 3. All right, if I want 7, 3, remember my ordered pairs are always in this form. X goes first, Y goes second, okay? This is always your x-axis, the horizontal, the vertical is always your y-axis. So I'm going to go 7, 3, so I'm going to go over 7 on the x-axis, up 3 on the y-axis, and it lands me here at N. So it should be B. On to the next one, moving on, moving on. All right, the table, let me clear this. The table shows the relation between X and Y. Here's my X values, here are my Y values. Use the table. Which two numbers complete the table? So here's two numbers. They're not an ordered pair. If they were an ordered pair, it would look something like this. The two numbers would be 5, 4, which would mean X, Y, but they're not. They're just two numbers. They're not an ordered pair, okay? Which two numbers complete the table? So I'm looking for two Y values here. So here's how I need to figure this out. If I plug in 8, I get out what for Y? If I plug in 10, I get out what for Y? Well, let's see what the pattern was. I plugged in 1, I got out 0. So that told me I subtracted 1 maybe. Let's try and see if that worked here. I plug in 3, I get out 2. Oh, yep, he subtracted 1. Let's see if it works here. If I plug in 5, do I get out 4? Yes, that's subtracting 1. So the pattern looks like this to me, -1. Okay, I plug in my X value, I subtract off 1, and I get out my Y value. So let's see, if I plug in 7, I subtract 1, I get out 6, yes. So if I plug in 8, I subtract 1, I get out 7. If I plug in 10, I subtract 1, and I get out 9. So the values I should get are 7 and 9, C. All right, let's go on to the next one. Choose the symbol to replace the blank spot to make a true sentence. So we're looking at inequalities or equalities, plus, minus, whatever will make this true. Well, -2 is what to -17? Now careful, 17 looks bigger than 2, but on a number line, remember the negatives go in the opposite direction. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on, okay, in this direction, it's going to go -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, okay, -10, that should be negative, -10, -15, 16, 17. Here's -17, all right? So here's -2 right here, -2, and here's -17. Now, this way is greater than, and that way is less than. So greater than always goes to the right. -2 is greater than -17. So in the negative direction, the smaller numbers are actually bigger. So I should have this. The alligator eats the bigger number. So I should have C. -2 is greater than -17. So careful with two negatives. If you have two negatives, remember, the number that's smaller is actually the greater number. It's tricky with those double negatives. Okay, what is the value of the absolute value of -7 plus 7? Okay, remember absolute value represents distance from 0 on a number line. Whether you go forward, let me just explain this real quick. Because it represents distance from 0 on a number line, if here's 0, if I go, let's say the absolute value of 2, if I go 2 this way, or if I go 2 this way from 0, I can walk 2 steps forward, and that distance is 2. I can walk 2 steps back. I still went a distance of 2. I just went in a different direction, in the negative direction. That distance is still 2. So the absolute value of -2 is 2. And the absolute value of 2 is also 2. The absolute value of -7 is 7. And then I'm going to add 7 to it, and I get 14. So it should be D. All right, let's look at number 14. A scuba diver was at a, scuba divers again. Oh, what's up with the scuba divers? Now I want to go to Hawaii. A scuba diver was at a depth of -9 feet and dove another 7 feet to see a school of fish. What's the current depth of the diver in feet? So it started at a depth of 9 feet, -9 feet down, dove another 7 feet. So am I going to add 7 or subtract 7? If I'm 9 feet down and I'm diving another 7 feet, I'm going to go more down. So I'm going to subtract off 7 more, not adding 7. Okay. -9 minus 7 is the same as plus -7. So I'm going to go more in the negative direction. And I should get -16 feet. And that is the diver's current depth. Down 16 feet. Lucy hikes 5 kilometers up a mountain and then descends 2 kilometers. Which expression represents this situation? Okay, well, if Lucy hikes 5 kilometers up the mountain, so that's plus 5 kilometers, and then descends 2 kilometers, which expression represents this? Well, I'm going to go up 5. Which one is that? There it is, +5, and then subtract off 2. So she should be at 3 kilometers. All right, let's look at number 16. An airplane descends at a rate of 25 feet per minute. Descends down. Okay, so it would really kind of go like this on a diagonal, really. So 25 feet per minute down. What is the airplane's change in altitude after 10 minutes? So if it descends at 25 feet per minute, and there's 10 minutes, I'm going to go 25 and multiply that by 10. And that's going to be 250 feet. And if you want to keep your units while you're multiplying, it would look like this. 25 feet per minute, that's your per minute, times 10 minutes. If I do this multiplication, well, the minutes on bottom cancel with the minutes on top, and I'm left with 25 feet times 10, which is my 250 feet. So if you're keeping track of your units, that's a good way to do it. All right, let's go ahead and interpret the product. Just to add to this, if I was interpreting this product, what's the airplane's change in altitude? Just to make sure we're understanding, it is a descension, so it would be down. It would be a -250 feet, okay, because they're descending, going down. If I could make that arrow better. All right, let's look at number 17. Indicate the answer choice that best completes the statement or answers the question. We want to simplify this, okay? If I'm going to simplify, I'm just going to do some multiplication here. This multiplication, or those parentheses, is just a big multiply, so this is just all multiplied together. I can multiply -4 and 5, and that's going to give me -20, and then multiply that times x, and then times y. And then I'm done, -20xy. All right, evaluate this expression, and they give me if z is 8 and y is -3. So if I have 12, sometimes it helps to write 12z, and I'm dividing it by y. I like to write mine like this, okay? If I plug in 8 for z and -3 for y, what do I get? Well, it looks like this, 12 times 8 divided by -3. Now, if I do my order of operations, remember I multiply and divide, and then I add, subtract. Well, this is all multiplication and division. So I'm going to do my multiplication on top first and go 8 times 12, and I'm doing this from left to right. I'm multiplying these first, and then I'm dividing by -3. And that's going to give me, if I do 8 times 12, I'm going to get 96 divided by -3. It's going to give me -32. And that would be A. Okay, so a golfer recorded the following scores in a 5-day tournament. Ooh, golfing for 5 days sounds fun. Find the mean and interpret the quotient. Okay, the mean means the average, and the quotient just means the division problem. Interpret the mean is what they're saying. What does the mean mean? All right, so here are the scores. So we're going to have +2, -3, +1, +0, -1. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So the mean means I add them all up and divide by the number of scores. There are 5. So if I add these all up, 2 and 1 is 3. And then 3 minus 3 is 0. Plus 0 is 0, minus 1. So I'm going to get -1 here on top over 5. So -1 over 5, that's not even 1 whole under or over par. So this is my average, -1/5, okay? What does that mean? That means 0 would be on par, right? Plus or minus. So he is barely under par, just barely below par for that 5 days, right? Just a little bit, not even 1 whole stroke, a fifth of a stroke under par, okay? All right, let's look at the last one. Use the coordinate plane to find the distance between point E and point B. So here's E and here's B. We're going to use the coordinate plane to find that distance. Well, we're not going diagonally, which is nice because then I'd have to use distance formula. I'm just going horizontally, so I can just count. Let's count from -2 over to 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This distance from E to B is 5. And that would be D. All right, guys, that is your first practice benchmark. Remember, on the test, you need to do that on your own. Come here and watch this and rewind it and redo the practice benchmark as many times as you need until you understand the concepts. And email me or come to tutoring if you have any questions. Have a good day.